Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming along today, and it's great to see so many of you here. We're delighted to be here at the Catalyst building this morning, and for some of you it might be the first time that you've been to this new state-of-the-art facility at Staffordshire University. There will be an opportunity for you to have a look around and talk to some of the employees who work here about this building once we've concluded today's event. My name's Louisa Shaw. I'm the Place Brand Manager for We Are Staffordshire, and this is all about putting Staffordshire on the map. This particular event today that we're delighted to invite you to is focusing on Staffordshire as a place to learn and grow, both for young people who are born and hopefully stay here, but also for lifelong learning career changes as well. And we'll be shining a spotlight on a number of the businesses and organisations, institutions who are leading the charge in upskilling and inspiring people of all ages throughout today. I will just mention very quickly that unfortunately one of our speakers, Paragon Group, Chris Childs, is unable to join us today. So we do have 3 speakers on today's event. However, if there was any particular questions or conversations that you wanted to have with Chris, please do drop myself or Louise an email after today, and we'll make sure that those are picked up after the event. So very quickly, as I say, I'm here myself, Louisa Shaw, and my Tweedledee, Tweedledum colleague with a similar name, who many of you will have emailed and spoken to over the months and years, Louise Shaw. We're going to double act today just to give you a bit of an overview on what's happening in the world of We Are Staffordshire. For those of you who've seen me half walking, half waddling around the room this morning. The other reason Louise has stood up here today is because she's going to be helping take over, much of the activity when I go off. This will be my last ambassador event here for a few months as I take a bit of a respite and have our baby. So in terms of what we're here for, as I say, we're here to promote and market the county as the place to invest, to learn, which we're focusing on today, to visit, and importantly, as a place for people, and hopefully a lot of you in the room today, to call home. That place that offers a great quality of life, affordable housing, great education, and we'll hear from some of that as well today. So we're here to promote all of that, both here today through events such as this and in the county, but also beyond our county borders as well. One of the things we did through our ambassador network, which we launched a year or so ago, was to run events such as this and run a number of different activities, including launching a newsletter in April last year. And what we ran in autumn, so thank you to those of you in the room who responded to this, is a survey to kind of do a pulse check on how we'd done against that activity. We will be sharing the full figures in our newsletter that comes out next week, but in terms of those headline figures, 77% of respondents are extremely familiar with our work, and the other half were new ambassadors who are looking to learn more about what we do. The words that are used to describe our county from those ambassadors is beautiful, friendly and creative. And so I thought that was really positive way of the people who are already here looking at the place that they live, work, visit and study. And 96%, which is a great number of respondents, recommend joining our ambassador network. So in your wider networks, if you've got people that you're talking to today, tomorrow, next week, if you can think of We Are Staffordshire and mention that to other people so we can spread the word about everything that we do. As you know, the ambassador network is entirely free to join and be part of. But it would be great to continue to grow that network over the coming months and years. In terms of some of the things we've been busy with since we last saw you in October, we headed over to the City Nation Place conference and its awards in autumn. We were really proud and honoured to be shortlisted for both of the awards categories that re-entered, the main one of those being Place Brand of the Year. We were shortlisted against Estonia, Chile, Madeira, Washington DC. All of those are rather larger than our county. So in 18 months to have been recognised on that global platform was a huge accolade for us. We weren't winning, we weren't successful in winning on the day. Estonia actually won that campaign for a really moving campaign that was around welcoming people to Estonia and the Ukraine-Russia war. It was incredible. So in the slides that we send out, we are sharing a link to that campaign that won. But we are, of course, still keeping on our agenda for this year of delivery to make sure we're pushing for those awards, because that is a really key way that we can get our name and our profile out there. Continuing to raise our profile at national events has been a key part of what we do. So as I said, we headed to City Nation Place. I spoke at that event, and indeed Christian, who was also the founder of this work, spoke at a City Nation Place conference as well towards the end of the year. So lots of great speaking opportunities, and I believe we've also secured great opportunities for even Staffordshire University. I know Vice-Chancellor Martin Jones spoke at an event earlier on this week promoting Staffordshire University and Staffordshire, so we continue to do that as well. And if you're keen to speak at events and there's something you'd like us to put you forward for, do let us know. We're always looking out to profile businesses in the county. And then finally, collaboratively, we worked with the County Council, our colleagues and partners over at Enjoy Staffordshire, our tourism board, and others to support the local high streets in Staffordshire at Christmas time. So we launched a wonderful, really nostalgic video about the simple pleasures of Christmas. And that had some significant success with getting local people to enjoy those local events at a time of the cost of living crisis. So I'll now hand over to Louise, who's going to talk to you a little bit about some of the work that we have agreed to deliver and what's coming up in 2024. Thank you.
Thanks, Louisa. Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about what we've got coming up in the year ahead. You can see we've got our 3 pillars of work here. If we first of all look at the Staffordshire work, we're going to continue to hold these ambassador events. So we have 4 a year. Our next one's going to be in April. More information to come on that. We're also going to be hosting, and this is new, some smaller ambassador experiences. So they will start from June this year, and that's as a result of the ambassador survey that Louisa mentioned. We know some of you want to see more smaller networking events, so those are going to be happening later this year. We're also going to continue to promote our activity via our social media channels and via our monthly newsletters. So if you don't follow us on social media or subscribe to our newsletter, please do. Looking to our external activity, things that go on beyond our county, one of the key things is our Staffordshire Day campaign, which is focusing on quality of life in Staffordshire and living in Staffordshire. And more information on that will be launched at our April Ambassador event. We're also doing a national piece of work to benchmark perceptions of Staffordshire to help us to measure the impact we have in the years to come. We'll also be continuing to host strategic roundtables and raise our profile by putting our work forward for awards similar to the City Nation Place ones. And then the final pillar there, collaboration, that's really key to everything we do as We Are Staffordshire. We're going to continue, obviously, to work with you as our network of ambassadors and our key partners as well. We're going to be making our asset library, which is currently on our website, a lot more accessible this year so that you're equipped to tell our story. And we're also going to be setting the long-term strategy for We Are Staffordshire. So moving beyond the 3-year pilot that we're in, we're going to move that forward, and we'll be sharing more details of that in spring 2024. And a really great example of collaboration is this. We're going to be going to UK REIF, which is a national investment conference in May. We're supporting our Staffordshire Inward Investment team with this, and we're going to have a major Staffordshire presence at the event this year. We're really looking forward to it. And we're delighted to be joined by our 8 districts and boroughs across Staffordshire at this event. So we're going to have a huge presence to profile the whole county at UK REIF. And if you're interested in knowing more about this, or you'd like to be involved in any way, or you want to know more about sponsorship opportunities, either in kind or paid for, my colleagues from the Staffordshire Inward Investment Service are here today. So I don't know if you want to give people a wave. There's Simon there and Lauren at the back as well. So if you'd like to speak to those about UK REIF, please do so. And finally, please do join the conversation with us today on our social media channels using the hashtag #WeAreStaffordshire. Please do promote that you're here and what you think of the speakers so that we can share the message. Thank you.
And I'm delighted to hand over for our compere for the day, the Director of Communities and Commercial Engagement, Martin Tideswell. Thanks, Martin.
Thank you to Louisa and Louise. I was convinced until this morning they were the same person. I'm delighted to find out that they're not. Who needs Washington? Who needs Estonia? We've got the sunshine and we are Staffordshire. So good morning, everybody. A very warm welcome to Staffordshire University. It's genuinely a pleasure to have you with us. We're thrilled we could partner with We Are Staffordshire, what is the 10th Ambassador event. Today we're all here in the new-ish flagship Catalyst building, which opened in March of last year. We've got a saying here at Staffs: we want to be a catalyst for change. So what does that mean? Well, what we mean is that we're a force for social good. We transform the lives of people who in turn can go on to transform society and the places in which we live. That's genuinely what we're all about. We're committed to being a civic university and an intellectual hub for the communities that we serve. We've got a significant economic footprint locally and across the region, supporting an estimated 2,750 full-time equivalent jobs, and with £120 million gross value added across Stoke-on-Trent and the Staffordshire Local Enterprise Partnership area. This is a result of the university's role as a large local employer, a purchaser, an attractor of students and visitors to the area. And while much of this added value is concentrated in the city of Stoke-on-Trent, it's also driven by our other campuses at Lichfield, Stafford, and of course now in London. Apprenticeships continue to be an important part of the provision that we have, and we see our work in this area, along with growing placements and work-based learning, as a vital way in which we can help to address the skills gap regionally. In our Innovation Enterprise Zone, the IEZ, that's our flagship centre where we develop relationships and strategic partnerships with employers to support innovation, enable high-tech incubation, nurture startups and provide access to apprenticeships, micro-credentials, short courses and masterclasses. The IEZ is a £13 million investment and a key aspect of the local enterprise and innovation ecosystem. It stimulates the local economy through innovation-led growth and higher skills development in Stoke-on-Trent and across Staffordshire. Our university drives research and collaboration projects to improve and enhance the regional economy and quality of life. In the Research Excellence Framework 2021, 68% of our research here at Staffs was judged internationally excellent and world-leading. That's up from 37% in 2014 when the previous REF results were out. In addition, 87% of our research impact was rated as very considerable or outstanding. That's the highest 2 categories. Our core mission here at Staffordshire University is arguably more important than ever before, particularly in these turbulent and challenging times. That is to be that catalyst for change for our students, our staff, our communities, our city and the wider county. And that, of course, dovetails beautifully with the aims of We Are Staffordshire and why we're all here today. So I'm Martin Tideswell, Director of Communities and Commercial Engagement here at Staffs. I do recognise quite a few faces. In a previous life, I was a journalist for 30 years. I am that old. I was the editor of the Sentinel, the Post and Times series, the Staffordshire newsletter, and the Stoke-on-Trent Live digital platform. In my role here at the university, I oversee our development and alumni relations team. I organise external events such as the Your Heroes Community Awards, assist with new commercial revenue streams here for the university, support promotion and use of this building, the Catalyst, our £43 million digitally enabled flagship, network with key stakeholders and partners, and help to nurture those important relationships with our community stakeholders. As I tweeted on Tuesday, after the successful launch of our new Staffordshire University Business Awards, I love bringing people together. I get a real buzz out of it. So despite the fact that, and I don't know who's in the room, Louisa, Louise, Mary-Ann, Claudia, Katie, Lucy have done all the hard work, I'm really pleased to be here with you today, hosting the event. The strength of these ambassador events, I think, of course, is bringing Staffordshire people together. And I guess I'm one of you. I was born and raised a couple of miles away in Sneyd Green. I live in Stockton Brook. I'm enormously proud to be from Stoke-on-Trent in Staffordshire. And whilst I'm very happy to acknowledge the challenges that the county faces, if you follow me on social media, you'll find I am annoyingly, unfailingly positive as an advocate and an ambassador for our patch. And that, of course, is what today is all about. It's about arming you, our ambassadors, with even more positives. It's about hearing our speakers talk up new initiatives, opportunities and success stories, and doing what we do best here in Staffordshire, forging new relationships, connections, networks that can lead to future partnerships. These events are about building that knowledge and excitement and then going out and telling people about it, telling people about our fantastic county so you can effectively be the sales force. We'll be asking you for feedback via the QR code at the end of the event, so please continue to come to these events and be our brilliant ambassadors. Do take 2 minutes to interact with the QR code. Now, following the presentations, there'll be plenty of opportunity for further networking, as well as an opportunity to take a look around the Catalyst if you've not been here before. It's well worth it. It's an inspirational space. 3 floors. You might even get to the top floor if you're lucky. Staffordshire is a place of learning and growth. With our 2 respected universities, Staffordshire and Keele, home to more than 27,000 students. We're shaping scientists, professionals, medics, engineers of the future. We also recognise the strength of apprenticeships, and we're proud to support more than 13,700 places every year. Any commitment to the future means being committed to better education, learning and skills for young people, lifelong skills for adults. Today, you'll be hearing from a range of inspirational speakers. They really are great, from institutions and organisations from across the county who are making this a priority. We're fortunate today to be joined by experts in skills and the learning space. They are Professor Pauline Walsh, who's the Dean of the Faculty of Health at Keele University, Jenny McGurk, Principal of the JCB Academy, and my good friend Jason Lancaster, Director of the Institute of Technology and Employee Partnerships at Newcastle and Stafford Colleges Group. After all the speakers have given their presentations, we're going to invite them back onto the stage and we're going to have a Q&A. So without further ado, it's my great pleasure to introduce our first speaker. I'm delighted to welcome an academic from our sister institution, Keele University. She's going to be talking about how Keele trains thousands of students to prepare them for employment in the healthcare and medical sectors. So would you please show your appreciation for the Dean of the Faculty of Health at Keele University, Professor Pauline Walsh.
Thank you very much, Martin, and it's a real pleasure to be here and into a building that I've never been in before, so I am going to have a little wander around at the end of the morning. I suppose just to think a little bit about, the context within which we're here today. This is about thinking about learning and growing, and I think lifelong learning is probably one of the most important things that we have. And if I just reflect on myself and think about, where I've come from, what I've done in my life and how I've got to be where I am, at the age of 14, 15, there's absolutely no way I would have thought I would stand up here as a professor, as a Pro-Vice-Chancellor and Executive Dean, when I was a young girl going to a Catholic secondary modern school where we weren't even allowed to take O-levels. So I think there is something about the journeys that we need to facilitate for people in our communities and being able to ensure that everyone knows that actually we all develop differently at different times and everyone deserves a chance. So for me, learning and education is really about that, and it takes all different forms. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Keele and what we do in the faculty and how that can support not only the health and social care sector, but industry and business as well. And, you know, I'm hoping that from this you'll see actually universities aren't just about degrees, they're about many other things. That image that you can see on the screen there is, of course, one of the key things about Keele is the beautiful campus that we actually have. That's a view of Keele Hall. And I think actually one of the little postcards in your document, in your pack, is actually Keele Hall, if I'm not mistaken. I recognise the view of it. So just a little bit about us. We were founded in 1949. We've now got over 12,000 students of varying types, so they can be full-time, undergraduate or postgraduate, they can be part-time, they can be online, they can be international, they can be apprenticeships, they can be a whole range of different students. We're set in a 600-acre campus, which is beautiful but brings challenges as well. The maintenance and estates of managing such an area is quite something. But actually, when we think about that, the level of and number of operational staff we have to keep things ticking over is phenomenal. We're quite a cosmopolitan community, so we have both staff and students from over 100 countries from around the world, so that brings with it a real sense of vibrancy and, I think, the ability to learn from each other and different cultures. Student satisfaction is high, and you know, we know that our students value that sense of community they get at Keele, and actually that's something that's great for staff as well, because you do feel that you're part of something. And I know that colleagues at Staff's Uni will feel the same. You know, you have that sense of belonging, and I think that's really important. And we do world-leading research, and in particular I'm going to share some of that from my faculty. So we're structured in 3 key faculties: humanities and social sciences, natural sciences, and medicine and health sciences, which is obviously mine. Just a little bit about the faculty. We're structured so that we've got 4 main schools. We have a School of Medicine, which is headed by Professor Christian Mallon. We have a School of Pharmacy and Bioengineering, which is headed by Professor Katie Maddox. We have a School of Allied Health Professions, which is led by Anne O'Brien, and a School of Nursing and Midwifery, which is led by Professor Julie Green. So we're quite a mixed school faculty with both sort of science, health, and industry-related activities that happen in there. We partner with hospitals, NHS trusts, social care organisations, third-party organisations, private voluntary, all of those things around Staffordshire, obviously, but Shropshire, a bit into Cheshire, bit into Wolverhampton, Walsall, that sort of way. So our reach is quite, it's not just Staffordshire, although the largest proportion of our partnership and work is in Staffordshire. So what do we do? We have educational programmes in all of our schools that are in the top 20 in all the league tables, and there's university programmes are assessed to death, really. There are all sorts of different league tables. Some of those are first in student satisfaction or the Guardian League tables, you know, and some a second, third, that type of thing. But we're consistently up there. We provide probably an unusual breadth and depth of professional education, and you'll see that in my next slide, which outlines the areas that we do. The key thing that we want to do is to develop excellent health and social care professionals. That is my mission. My mission is to make sure that the population who need to access health and social care are doing that from Keele graduates who are of an outstanding quality. And that's our mission. That's what we're there for to do. So we have high quality staff with expertise in a wide range of areas, and many people don't realise that the professionals that they might be going to see are also people that work with us in the university. So, you know, a lot of the hospital consultants or your GPs, they're also doctors, professors working at Keele University, and we work together so that the education the students get is overseen by people that are leading the field within clinical practice or social care. A number of our, all of our schools have staff working in them who are also working in leadership roles within these other organisations, directing and providing care for the local community. And that's really important because it makes sure that we keep our feet on the ground and that we're not what people sometimes accuse universities of being, ivory towers. And for Keele, the ivory tower up on the hill, because of course we're situated on a hill. So it's, for me, I really encourage more and more of our staff to be engaged in supporting our local health and care organisations. We have world-leading research, and as Martin said, we have an exercise it's about every 7 years, really. It's very comprehensive, very time-consuming, but it does give you a sense of where you are with your research. And in particular, more recently, the impact of research has become a real focus, and that's something that we are really keen on. We have educational research then that underpins the way we teach students. So we spend time in supporting people to know what's the best way to deliver this. How will the students learn the most from doing this? You know, I've done work looking at how can we develop resilience in students to manage those challenges in clinical practice, because, you know, it's not easy to be out in some of those areas. So we have lots of different things and lots of partnerships, both NHS and non-NHS. Excuse me. So this is just a few of the programmes, the main clinical programmes that we run. And I think you'll see there is a real array there. And I think that is what maybe sometimes gives Keele a little bit more opportunity to really do multi-professional education, to really look at how we're doing things. So, you know, our 4 schools, whilst they are separate schools, work closely with each other to think about how can we make this experience for students as positive as we can. All of these types of areas are undergraduate, postgraduate. We run 4-year undergraduate degrees as well as 3-year undergraduate degrees. We run apprenticeships, as Martin has indicated. We run shortened fast-track 2-year master's programmes to give clinicians. We've recently, so every time you start a new programme, it comes with all sorts of things that you have to think about. How do you prepare students to be out in that world? So we've recently started the only master's degree in prosthetics and orthotics. In order to do that, we've actually had to build a prosthetics workshop. So on campus now we can produce, you know, artificial limbs, all sorts of things. And so it really isn't just about sitting in a classroom and you know, listening to people speak. So a big range of programmes that we offer there. And then these are some of our key research areas for the faculty. Regenerative medicine, and in particular, work around cartilage regeneration and things like that. Keele was the first place in collaboration with Oswestry, with Robert Jones and Agnes Hunt, where the actual origin of the work on growing cartilage to be transplanted back in actually happened. So, we've got laboratories, research laboratories in many different hospitals as well as on the campus. So that work, that research, we call it bench to bedside. And, so some of it is in laboratories. And again, that's where industry really comes in, because it's all about the supply chains and looking at what we're using and how we're working with our external partners in terms of some of that. Through to actually out there, we have a massive general practice academic network where we're able to do studies across masses of general practices, and that gives us data that's absolutely rich and really helps us then to look at, well, how should we deliver certain types of health and social care. I thought it might be interesting to share some of the things we did during the pandemic, because we can't forget that the last 3 years has been fairly challenging. And certainly I know Staffs Uni will have done some of these things as well, but maybe not exactly the same as us. But, it's really important that in times of crisis, universities do step up and we do support our communities and our industry. So the first one was staff and students working on the front line. As I said before, many of my staff are clinicians. So what we did is let them go back into practice. And, we just allowed that to happen and said, we'll sort out whatever needs to happen. There was no sort of, oh, well, how much is that costing me or anything like that. We just did it. And I think that's really important. We did things like, how can we get some of our students to qualify early? So our medical students qualified earlier than they would normally do. So they became doctors. Any of you know that every year in August, there's a new batch of doctors that start all on the same day. In the pandemic, we started them in June. Now that may not seem massive, 2 months early, but it was. It was a real endeavour to actually get them to do that. All of our students remained on clinical placement throughout the pandemic and supported the staff. We had lots of PPE in the university because of the type of work we do in our labs and everything. We just gave it all out immediately. And primarily to areas, not necessarily to the main hospitals, because they didn't need it at the time, but certainly out to some of the general practices and things like that. Our head of pharmacy, Katie, stepped up, went back into the laboratory and massively produced hand sanitizer, which again went out to our local NHS and social care providers. We became a testing centre, and both on campus and in our hospital site facilities. We facilitated the REACT study. So when you hear about the studies that talk about what percentage of the population have COVID, they do that through random sampling of a group of individuals. So we facilitated that for them. We've got lots of ongoing research into long COVID at the moment. We gave up use of our buildings for all sorts of different things, particularly at UH&M and at Royal Stoke. We did online delivery. We continued with our training for NHS staff, so people that are already working. And we just had to overnight move it all to online. And I know, again, staffs will have been doing that as well. And we've maximised digital opportunities. And of course, as with any crisis, there are loads of awful things that come out of a crisis, but there are also loads of great things that come out of a crisis. We've dispelled some of the myths about, well, you have to have a student there for them to learn. They have to, do what you're doing to learn. And I think we'd already got a lot of that, but COVID has really helped us rethink how can we blend digital and in situ learning together to get the best for students. And these are just a couple of things that we do around skills and learning. We do a lot of virtual learning and augmented reality, and we develop that with our own staff in-house as well as externally. And then some of the other things that we do, because it isn't all about teaching, we also offer help to develop the research and evidence base across the locality. So one of our professors chairs something called Sherpa, and it's where the integrated care systems, and you'll have probably heard about those in the news, that's the way that the NHS is organising itself. So for both Staffordshire and Shropshire are brought together to actually try and help them start to think about what should their research structures be, how do they promote research and evidence-based practice throughout all of their areas. So we're chairing that and supporting that activity. We've got a clinical trials unit at Keele, and that is slightly different to Staffordshire. So this is a really important piece of research infrastructure to help trials happen. We've got what we call the Impact Accelerator Unit, and that is focusing on how do we take research and evidence and make the end users actually uptake that research. And that's a real issue at times. You can do the research and say, well, this is the way that you should do something. Now, a classic example has been over the years that when you go and have an operation, they say you're not allowed to eat or drink for a certain amount of times. And for 30 years, we've known that we don't need to make that as long as it has been, but it took at least 20 years for that to change practice. So the Impact Accelerator Unit is looking at how we change that and how we speed up the implementation of research. We've got Kildale Health, which is something that I chair that helps us to work with our partners. And then we've got Business Bridge, which is a funded project that supports businesses to start up, to think about what they're doing. And Rosie, who's sat over there, runs that. So any local businesses who want help and support, there may be something that we can do. And then really it's just that bit about our staff and what we do. I'm a non-exec director of an NHS trust, and many of us do things like that as well as our day jobs. And really the last bullet point is the most important. We're committed to supporting and developing health and social care across Staffordshire, and that is in all aspects of it. So thank you very much for listening.
Genuinely brilliant. Thank you so much to Professor Walsh for that valuable insight. It's clear that educational programmes on offer at Keele University are developing excellent, talented healthcare professionals. And of course, it's fantastic to remind ourselves that Staffordshire as a county is home to world-leading research at both universities. Fantastic to have you with us today, and thank you for that valuable insight. Now, if Professor Walsh's presentation has provoked any questions, please keep them in mind, because we're going to have Professor Walsh back up for the Q&A shortly. On to our second speaker, who represents, I guess, an iconic global brand, which is at the forefront of innovation and the Green Revolution. To give us an insight into how this world-leading company is investing in young people and skills for the future, would you please welcome to the stage Jenny McGurk, the Principal of the JCB Academy.
Thank you very much, Martin, and thank you for coming this morning to a very, very sunny and fantastic start to this hopefully spring. I think it looks very spring-like out there. I'm here to talk to you about the wonderful JCB Academy and give you an insight to what makes this academy unique. I could talk for a very, very long time, so I'm going to cut it down to 10 minutes. And we're going to start with looking really about how the academy solves a problem, and maybe some of the problems that you as businesses are experiencing as well. So first of all, why does the academy exist? Well, throughout this country and many countries, there is a huge shortage in engineers. There's a deficit of about 59,000 engineers every year, and this problem is only going to get worse, because about 20% of engineers are due to retire by 6. And really, we need 180,000 engineers to plug the STEM skills gap. That's costing businesses money, and about 50% of businesses are experiencing that difficulty in that recruitment. But we're here in, friendly, beautiful and creative Staffordshire. And you have to sometimes think outside of the box. And rather than worrying about the problem, it's actually about how we solve that problem. And Lord Bamford, rather than thinking, right, where these engineers are coming from, he said, do you know what? We're going to make them ourselves. We're going to grow them ourselves. And he was really passionate about this, and he started up about 12 years ago now, the JCB Academy. He took an old Arkwright mill. It's a very, very beautiful building, but it was very run down. And he took this fantastic building, and with his team, built this wonderful JCB Academy. And it's got two parts to it. The first part we called the Bamford wing, because actually Lord Bamford himself designed that whole wing. And then we have the Arkwright building. So the Academy opened in 2010. And it has a very clear mission: to change lives and to develop engineers and future business leaders. And what we do is we work very closely with a whole range, not just the fantastic JCB, but we work with lots of world-leading industrial partners. We have a dedicated staff, and we ensure each learner has a meaningful destination, and that we instill those attitudes that business and commerce are looking for. So the JCB Academy is the first of its kind, and it's completely unique, and it's here in Staffordshire. It's got two parts to it. The first part is pretty much like what you might think on the surface as an ordinary school. It's not a private school. Young people apply to this school at the age of 14 to come to the JCB Academy, and we have a 13 to 19 provision for young people with that passion for engineering and business. We have 830 learners in that part of our business, and we're the most oversubscribed school in Staffordshire. That causes us problems because we have young people so keen and so passionate about engineering. They come on our open day and they apply, and actually there's about 1 in 3, sometimes 1 in 4 chance of actually getting into the academy because it's so popular. The other part, which you might not know about very much, is we're the only school in the whole country that has such a big engineering section to our business in terms of apprenticeships. We have, at the moment, 185 learners on either a level 2 to a level 4 apprenticeship, and we work really closely with JCB on that part of our business. So the academy itself, its core values at the centre. If you know JCB, you'll recognise those core values. They're the same core values that we have at the academy. And at the academy, in terms of our priorities, the priority really for us is to make sure that the young people that come to the JCB Academy have a world-class experience. And that's what we do all of the time. We're trying to be creative, think how can we make it better so that these young people get the very, very best experience here when they come. And our focus is very different from maybe what other schools are looking at, because our focus is about the destination of these young people. So when they come in, we're talking to them right from the get-go about what their dreams are and how we're going to facilitate those dreams. And we're making sure that they're motivated on the next step of their life. And very importantly, that whatever we do in terms of our curriculum doesn't close the doors for these young people on their future. So we have 3 different pathways for our young people, and I think it's really important to say that these pathways are not hierarchical. Staffordshire needs young people that come in at each of these pathways. They're all equally important because we've all got gaps to fill for young people, whatever pathway that they come in. And really the technical pathway, I have to say, for me as a teacher, gives me, I suppose, the biggest buzz, because I've got young people coming into the academy where their previous schools may have told them actually they weren't going to achieve very much. The results day for me, what always hits me is that the young people there and parents literally in tears because they've received results that their last school said you were never going to achieve. You were never going to achieve these results. And then they come out with really high results across the board, but more importantly than that, they've not just got those results, they've also got that apprenticeship in their pocket and those next steps of where they're going to. And their life is open in front of them. So no pathways discounted. About 40% of our young people go off to university. We are, young people that come to the JCB Academy are 4 times more likely to get an apprenticeship than any other school in the country. And we do that by making sure about, as I said, that their experience and the people that they come into contact with really encourage them to really think about their futures and get excited about their futures. So the curriculum is different. Everybody talks about a broad curriculum, but engineering and business are broad. There are lots of different areas within engineering and business. So our young people, they get on the bus from Stafford, from Stoke, from Burton, from Derby, from Staffordshire Moorlands. They get up earlier than most other children from other schools. Some of them take an hour and a half to get to the JCB Academy, and their curriculum, their experience is totally different. They don't do geography, they don't do history, but they really focus on subjects that are going to change their lives and make sure that they've got a destination in front of them. And in terms of just their experience, in terms of their curriculum, it's not just about the subjects. We're one of the first schools to run the T-level in engineering. And the T-level in engineering is a qualification. But we look at that qualification to say, can we use it as a vehicle to enhance the experiences of our young people? And those young people get the opportunity to develop those employability skills. They have contact with the world of work. They get the opportunity to develop their leadership and also their social, economic and environmental knowledge in terms of helping future sustainability. Our employer partners are quite truly amazing. And if you're sat there and you think, actually, I would love to be involved in something like this, then have a chat to me afterwards. But we work, as I said, very closely with JCB. They then also work with different employers that put, that when the academy was actually founded, helped put the curriculum together. Because the employer partners tell us really what they're looking for. What do they want young people to have? What skills do they need? And we make sure that we put them into our curriculum. So, for example, this week we have Mandy from Toyota working with our Year 11s, and she's actually doing their curriculum. It's going to be part of their engineering qualification, but she's there also actually looking at those young people and saying, do you know what? You're going to be brilliant at Toyota. I want you. And she's already in there, in the classroom. By the way, she knows, I can't believe how she's learnt 200 people's names just like that. But she's already pointed out, right, I want those learners to work with me. And so she's been in for the last 3 weeks working with Year 11. We have, I know we've got football representative today. One of our challenges this year has been to work with Stoke City. It's a Year 9 business challenge. So we had the marketing director of Stoke City come in, set the challenge for our Year 9s. These are 13, 14-year-olds that had to work as a team and make sure that they sold as many tickets for a Stoke match. And then we all went to watch the match. I have to say Stoke won. It was a great day. It was sunny like this. And that really it impacted their experience, but also in terms of being able to stand up and talk about this experience makes them really, really competitive in that place of work. Partnerships that we've had over the last 10 years, there's many and many more, hopefully. And finally, just in terms of those destinations, we're really proud of our destinations. We have, as I said, a wonderful pathway into university, a wonderful pathway into apprenticeships. We have no NEET learners. Those are young people that don't have those pathways. So at the moment, in terms of the mission, I think we're succeeding. We're more than succeeding. About 500 of our former learners are now in leadership positions across these fantastic businesses. And if you would like to be part of that, then, as I said, please have a chat to us. Thank you very much.
What a great story. I can't believe it's 12 years, to be honest. I mean, it's absolutely flown. I remember it opening. I mean, but what an impact, what a delivery. Many thanks for that, Jenny. It's fantastic to hear how JCB Academy is developing engineers and business leaders for the future. I thought what was really interesting about that, actually, is that it is so different to your normal curriculum. There's so many interesting sort of added value bits, but terrific. And I'm sure you've got some questions for Jenny, so please hold on to them for the Q&A. We'll have that shortly. Our final speaker is the Director of the Institute of Technology and Employer Partnerships, I hope I've got that title right, at Newcastle and Stafford Colleges Group. He's going to be talking about vocational education across the county and giving us a glimpse into plans for a new Stafford campus. Would you please show your appreciation for Jason Lancaster?
Morning, everybody. I'm a little bit croaky, so you might have to put up with some snuffling, but I'm sure we'll get through it. Wrong way. There you go, that looks more familiar. I'm Jason, so I work for Newcastle Stafford Colleges Group. I'm not going to talk about the colleges that much. My focus is on the forthcoming Institute of Technology for Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire. I'll give you a little bit of background in terms of the policy that sits behind this. So government have recognised that nationally, and this is particularly true locally, we have a lower proportion of young people and adults qualified to level 4 and 5. And what that means in practical terms is we have a smaller workforce with the higher level but practically applicable skills that can make a big difference to our productivity. That's particularly true in Staffordshire, where our rates are lower than the national picture as well. So there's a lot of investment going into technical education. We've already heard about T-levels. T-levels are intended to sharpen up the level 3 technical education in a range of areas, and we've heard about engineering. Jenny's stolen a lot of my thunder, so this could make my job a little bit easier. Following on from that, there's a lot of investment at level 4-5, so HNCs, HNDs and old money. Those programmes are being revisited and revitalised. I know Staffordshire University is doing a whole load of work around their level 4-5 curriculum. Into what's going to be called higher technical qualifications, HTQs. We love an acronym in our industry. But then alongside that, there's a drive to significantly increase the delivery of those. So what we now have is a suite of 20, give or take, institutes of technology across the country. The intention is to have one per area. We're the Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire one. And so that is to increase the volume of delivery at level 4-5. The impact of that generally, and again, particularly for our area, is about how do we attract more high-value industry into our area, make our economy more successful, make our citizens' lives more successful. And that's sort of my mission. So it's not a small thing. I want to make a tangible impact on that. And I think what we've heard this morning is all pointing in the same direction, actually. We've got a common mission, I think. Our institute at the moment is a collaborative partnership between Newcastle Stafford Colleges Group, Axis Solutions, which is an independent training provider in Stoke, Burton South Derbyshire College and Keele University, and we've heard from Keele University. We hope to broaden that partnership as well, so we don't see this as a static thing, so hopefully we can broaden that partnership over time. Up there you see the names of some of the partners that we're working with, and that we're very pleased and proud to have the big name partners that are on the slide. What I would say though is actually the success of this, or the failure of this, is the extent to which we engage with all the industries and all the companies in our area. So actually the SMEs, those who just tipped into being large companies, we've got to work together as well. So that's the partnership. We have a focus. You'll recognise these from all the skills reports that you've ever seen for the area. I imagine, and they might surprise us yet, but the LSIP is likely to come back with some of these themes as well. So our priority sectors are around advanced engineering and manufacturing, technical constructions, by which I don't mean bricklaying and carpentry and joinery, all of which are very important trades, but actually the design of buildings, the site management, particularly when we start thinking about the transformations in that industry around digitisation, sustainability, modern methods of construction, all of that, and digital technologies. And I would sort of narrow that down a little bit to coding, cybersecurity, and AI. Those are the areas that we're particularly focused on. There's also a focus alongside those around science, leading towards health, and obviously our partnership with Keele is going to be important there. And also around advanced transport and logistics. We are quite a hub for transport and logistics industries in Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire now, but that is an industry that's rapidly automating, and the days of the shed with 200 people running around moving boxes around, that's going now. And so actually highly automated, intelligent systems, we have to have a workforce that can support those. So those are the areas that we're going to focus on. And not wanting to be too ambitious at all, this is the range of programmes we want to cover. And what I would say is that all the colleges and all the organisations involved in the IoT and those more widely in the county have some of this provision in these areas, but very few have all of it. And so what we hope to do is to bring this together into a coherent curriculum offer for each one of those subject areas that we've talked about, that provides opportunities for full-time students. So we want more students at 16 and 18 making the decision to go and do level 4 or 5 programmes in these areas, specialist programmes which give them both practical skills and high-level thinking skills, make them more employable, make a tangible impact on the workforce that we have here. I think there's a massive opportunity for reskilling of adults that has sort of slipped away in the last few years. I think the going to night school has dropped out of the culture a little bit, and we've got to bring that back. So I sort of have a bit of a mission about that. And we've already heard about apprenticeships. Apprenticeships are a key way, all the way up to very high levels of expertise, of learning while you work and making a difference in your workplace as you go along. Now this slide is too detailed, but I'm going to push it up and not talk about too much of the detail. We want to do something a bit different. Of course I would. I can't say I'm going to do everything the same. And what I would say for any one of these subject areas, the core principles line and the specialist content line is what you get in most high-level qualifications. It's theory and practice, that's what it is. The difference, I think, and this is something that we need to drive through all curriculum, if I'm honest, is actually thinking about the cross-cutting themes and the skills that students will need wherever they go. So that's around sustainability. It's around actually, all the big employers I'm talking to aren't saying, I want to know more about high-end motor control. They're saying, I want people who can plan projects, financial control, personal and social skills. Those are the particular skills that make a big difference in their businesses. I want to build them all the way through. Automation is going to take out a whole range of existing and long existing jobs that you will assume will never go. They're going to go in the next 10 years. So actually preparing learners for that world and how they then successful in that world is critical. So that's the cross-cutting themes line. The other bit is applicability of skills. So not just learning the theory, but actually putting it into a real world, live project, hopefully in the workplace experience. And again, Jenny's talked about this in terms of the way that they work as well. It's really important that actually students do real jobs, make the mistakes that you make at first, and then shorten that time between when they finish their qualifications and can be genuinely productive in the roles. So it's about shortening that time. So for me, those second and fourth lines are where the opportunity for us to do something a bit different are. I talked about cross-cutting themes. This is the list as it currently stands based on employer feedback. If it's wrong, come and tell me, because I need to get it right. But these are the sort of skills that we hope to build into every programme, whether it be engineering, construction or digital. And I suppose lastly, the IoT is a collaboration. That's what it is. But it will have a physical presence in Staffordshire, and that's going to be at Stafford, the other side of the railway station, at the Palmbourne site. So NSCG are currently about to knock down some old railway sheds, and then this will hopefully take their place. It's hopefully going to be a nicer building than what's up there at the moment. This provides a centre for us to deliver the specialist training that we will need to deliver in these sort of areas that I've listed here, but also to provide some aspiration for our young people, as this building does, that actually, yes, you can come and be successful in this, and maybe you didn't know that. I mean, like Martin, I'm very local. I had no idea I'd be standing here now. I can't believe it, but I'll try not to think about it too much. But first person to university in my family, all of that stuff, I want others to follow the same journey. And I think these things do make a difference in terms of, actually, yeah, you can really thrive. And I think actually that adult bit about, yes, I've got to here now and I'm ready for my next step, come and spend some time in this nice building is really important. So we'll have the specialist facility, but the key thing I think is we'll have delivery across the county in the partners that I've listed so far, but hopefully a broader range of partners as we move forward. So there will be a hub. I'll give you timescales. We open for the first cohort of students in September 24. Excitingly, the building comes in January 25. No idea how that's going to work, but we'll find a way. And then there's a 5-year licence, and at the end of the 5 years, we'll have 1,500 students a week coming into this building and learning. That's a big change and a big opportunity. So that's the plan. And the last bit, I suppose, it's the same offer that Jenny's made, and I'm sure that Keele would make as well. If you want to come and get involved in this, I don't want to be doing this on my own. I need as much help as I can get. If you want to come and help, give us a shout. Thanks very much, everybody.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jason. The Institute sounds really, really exciting. I think what I take from all the speakers this morning, actually, is there was a line at the start from Louisa, I think, about the creative county. And what we do when we have a problem here in Staffordshire is somebody rolls their sleeves up and we find a solution. This is the county that gave the world Josiah Wedgwood and all that creativity, and we keep doing it. We find problems and we fix them. Thank you so much to all our speakers. Really insightful, really interesting. We've just hit you with a load of information. There'll be a quiz in the next... No, I made that up. It's okay. We're not doing a quiz. But this is where I do genuinely need the audience, because otherwise it's going to be, in the words of Han Solo, a really short trip. So can I please invite the speakers back up to join me here on the sofas, where there's some water. We'll check that your microphones are working, and then we'll have a bit of a Q&A. I believe my colleagues are going to have a handheld microphone to go around for questions. Wonderful. I can see Louise waving at me. Brilliant. Thank you so much. So, to take a few, if perhaps we had one on this side and perhaps two on that side. I'm conscious that the podium may hide people. Right, Ryan, I'm going to switch to... Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you. So can we test the mics? Jason. Hello. Jenny. Hello. Professor Walsh.
Hello.
Wonderful. I think we're all on, and I've just checked that I always have a terrible fear when I do this, that we're too close to the edge of the stage and somebody's going to sit down and just topple backwards with the sofa. I know it's irrational, but I've checked. We're fine. We're good. So, right. So I guess questions from the audience, hopefully questions for all of our speakers. So who would like to go first, please?
Good morning, Nick Moore from Newcastle Borough Council, the Town Centre Officer. I'd like to address Jason with the wonderful IT and Innovation Centre being opened up in Stafford. JCB seem to have the practicalities of getting learners to the sites. What are your proposals?
I think there's two things. First of all, we will also have delivery at Newcastle. As I say, we've got delivery planned across the county, and we'll have some at the Newcastle campus. So first of all, if people are really struggling to get there, that's one part of that. In terms of the hub, there's obviously the public transport options, and there will be parking at the IoT. It's also very close to the train station, so it doesn't help Newcastle so much, but if people are close to Stoke Station, it's very doable from there as well. But we'll continue to develop that, and again, happy to have conversations outside of this to take that forward.
Thank you. Our next question.
Thank you. It's Nikki Taylor from Cozy Direct. It's not really a question, it's more a thank you to Jenny, to be honest. My daughter's now 26 and she was attending JCB Academy on the second year that they were open. One of 6 girls who then went on to do an apprenticeship at Rolls-Royce, having been offered one from JCB as well. She's been there 10 years now, bought her own house at 20 and has never looked back. So she couldn't have done that. She was the one in tears, to be honest, her previous school who didn't support her, and she knew what she wanted to do, and she knew that she got an awful lot more in her than her previous school recognised. It was the best thing she ever did. She got involved in everything, and not only from an engineering point, but from a confidence point as well. And as a girl in engineering now, she is always the one that goes to all the STEM things that she's sort of called on to say, yeah, actually, girls in engineering, it does work, and she's flying now. So it really is a big thank you, Jenny.
Oh, well, thank you for that. And it's wonderful. I mean, I've only been head at the JCB Academy, now this is my 3rd year, but stories like that they just permeate the whole community. And many of those learners want to put something back into the academy. And actually, we have an academy association where these learners that are now in industry are coming back to us and again shaping the curriculum. It's an exciting time. But it is also a key focus for me to have more young women in the academy. It's still a job to do, and it's still something that there's a challenge there. So stories like your daughter are wonderful. Thank you.
What terrific feedback. That's absolutely brilliant. Thank you. Next question.
Good morning, Rosie Monkman from Keele University. I think it was very heartening to hear this morning that as a county we really have cracked it, that we know that not everybody is a traditional learner, that they don't go through the traditional GCSE A-level university route. So it is great to acknowledge that we all learn in different ways. I thought there were great partnerships, both public sector and private sector, from all the speakers. But I sensed a real sense of urgency, particularly from Jason, that we should be looking at cross-cutting themes, that there will be jobs disappearing in the next 10 years. We need to retrain people. We need to be looking at the Internet of Things and connected devices, whether that's across engineering, across health. And I know that educational institutions are big ships to turn around. I know it's difficult to put those cross-cutting themes quickly in place, but it's going to have to be done and have to be done quickly. So what challenges did the panel see in implementing that if Staffordshire is to remain a successful and attractive county for those jobs of the future that are coming down the line?
For me, I think it's a massive challenge, but I think it's a massive opportunity as well. I mean, very selfishly, the challenge that we'll have is getting highly specialist staff who are current enough to do that. But that's where the partnership working is going to be absolutely critical. I heard a terrifying conversation with an architect a couple of months ago who was talking that his view is that manual bricklaying will be a niche, heritage-only skill within 10 years, and we are still short of bricklayers at the moment and trained them as fast as we can do. If you think about that sort of change across every industry that we talk about, it's sort of terrifying, but how exciting is it? And so I think actually it's the barriers around staffing, the barriers around expertise, particularly maybe in a county where we have some of that but not as much as some others. But the opportunity is to unleash the creativity of our fantastic people, and we do that through partnership, I think, because industry recognises this as well, I think. So that's the situation we're in.
Professor Walsh, did you want to come in there?
I suppose it is really about partnerships, actually. I think they are the bedrock of development and innovation. If you don't get out there and engage with what's actually happening in industry, in care, in whatever the sector is, then how can you know what your students, learners need to experience and do? So for me, the value of working together, working collaboratively, is actually what makes things happen. You know, and I see that as our priority.
Thank you for the question, Rosie. Thank you. Next question, please.
Good morning. My name's Chris. I run an organisation in the city called Feasted. So I'm after some advice, and naturally I'm thinking Jason is possibly the one, but maybe one of you might be able to also add something. So Jenny, in my industry, which is hospitality, I share a similar sort of value of getting as many females in kitchens as possible. You know, kitchens are diverse, challenging, wonderful, creative, intelligent places to grow and develop. You know, we as an organisation are really laying the bricks, the foundations of gastronomy in our city based upon our history, our heritage, what is happening now, but also looking to the future. And if anyone isn't aware, we've recently launched something called Chef's Table, 8 people, an incredible experience without a doubt. What I'm really interested in the future is creating our own academy. You know, I want people to look at the city of Stoke-on-Trent gastronomically and think, hang on a second, these guys weren't even in the equation, and now they've surpassed it by 20 years. That's the ambition. I'm after advice on, you know, how to go about setting up an academy, what that, you know, how you make that process happen. We want to realise this in the next few years. We have our venue. We have a potential partner. Yeah, thank you for listening and look forward to your advice.
Go on then, how would you do that then?
I mean, I'll tell you one thing, it's scary. I can tell you that for nothing. We were very lucky that this is a national programme that makes this, you know, this is something we could apply for when we went for. I think the key thing is work out your target market, which I think you've done. It's work out the vision. I think partnership is key. I'm thinking Jenny might have something to say about this as well. I suppose, sorry, but the last thing, what was the last thing? It's gone. I'll stop.
Well done as well for just, you know, having the initiative to want to put that together. And I think I'm also I'm a daughter of a head chef, so I grew up in big kitchens, and I'm very aware of the current problems in kitchens. But I think in terms of the academy, it is about speaking, obviously, to the DFE and looking at, you know, getting on side and looking at what their objectives are and matching that. But just a word of warning that those objectives sometimes change. And so, for example, with the JCB Academy, when it first opened, you know, they were promised an awful lot in terms of free buses for all of the learners, and they would help, you know, with a certain amount of finance. And over the last 12 years, that's just depleted. And I think we're the only school in the country that are actually out of our own budget paying £300,000 for the cost of buses to bus young people in. So I think I would say work closely with them, but be aware that over the period of time, you'll need some backup plans for all of those creamy promises that you'll get to get it started.
I think what's probably you need to really be clear about at this stage is what do you actually want to be and how big do you want to be? Because, you know, an academy doesn't necessarily have to be huge, does it, to be really impactful. So actually thinking about, you know, what sort of size do you want to be? And then I think a key thing will be, you know, maybe thinking, well, how do I partner with existing people who are delivering education in whatever type of education that might be, so that I'm not thinking I have to do it all from scratch. Because I think, again, you know, it's a fairly niche area. You need to be careful that you don't try and do too much too quick and then it sort of doesn't work. So I think really focusing on what are we aiming for, what do we want to be in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, and working out what steps do I need to get there and who do I need to work with to actually help me do that. I think that's really important, but absolutely exciting, and I'd love to come along and sample the outputs of the learning.
So thank you, and thank you for the question. I think it's worth saying that if you don't know Feasted, it's worth having a chat afterwards. I know, obviously, through my work with the Hub Foundation charity, the incredible work you do and how passionate you are about lifting young people up. So thank you for that. You know, you are making a huge impact. Next question, please.
Hello, Mark Ellis from the National Memorial Arboretum. Just really picking up on that, looking after young people, and Jenny, really inspired by what you were saying about how the Academy makes sure people are employable and focuses on some of the softer, intangible skills as well. I'm really kind of conscious that coming out of the pandemic, whenever we finally come out of the pandemic, there's, you know, we've got university students at the moment that have done, you know, an awful lot of their course online, and Professor Walsh, you were talking about how you adapted to deliver some of that, but I know some students, you know, spent the best part of a year in their own room doing everything virtually. Further down the education system, we've got young people that just missed the rites of passage of school trips and school productions and going to see a new school before they went there. And actually, it's those, you know, I trust that great educators will provide great education and skills and competencies will be there. But it's what do our education institutions need to do to just continue developing those softer employability skills that create rounded individuals for the future?
Jenny?
I would say that they're not an add-on, but they're actually core. And I think when you're planning that curriculum, it's about making that core. And as I said, we do a lot of listening to our employer partners about what they're looking for and take the initiative to, as I said, the qualification, if you like, as a vehicle, but that's only a vehicle, it's not the end destination. It's a vehicle along with all of the other initiative and creative ideas that the team put together to put the most amazing curriculum together. And when those young people who have come through the pandemic, I could talk a lot of examples, but we've just done a project with St. Modwyn's. They've had to develop a whole plan for housing. They've had to look at the costs, they've had to look at the sustainability, all of the different issues, even I think a rare breed of badger or something on the land. They've had to deal with these crises and then present their ideas back to some very senior executives at St. Modwyn's. When young people get those experiences, they step up to the challenge. And giving them those opportunities, believe me, COVID, pandemic, what was that? Is history. You know, let's look forward, give them great opportunities and believe in them. And I think they just amaze us.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with that 100%. I think we have seen an impact, and certainly we would have seen attendance rates have gone down. Students are struggling with maybe higher levels of anxiety, and exactly what Jenny's described as the way to, you've sort of got to, in a supportive way, chuck them into the real world and make them go through that journey. But what they've also gathered is a range of other skills, and we mustn't lose sight of those. I think the ability to be more independent, to be more remote and work in a sort of a more digital way, we've got to capture that because they bring something else to the party, and we mustn't lose that either, I think.
I think I'd just build on what my colleagues have said. It is important about designing in to the educational experience, the opportunities for collaborative working. And you know, that some of that collaborative working can be online, digital, some of it can be face-to-face, but it's about, if you just say, these are the lectures, these are the lessons, these are the things, and that's all you have to do, there will be some people who just will not engage fully. So it's how you design tasks, activities, you know, as you said about having to go out and design a housing project and then deliver that back. Those are the things that students don't realise that we are purposely putting in there, not necessarily for the topic area, but for the process that the students go through. And so those, you know, employability skills, those communication, interpersonal skills, problem-solving skills, all of those things are really important. Students are often nervous initially, but once you actually get them going and you give them a level of support and security around how things are pulled together, they start to develop themselves and they take it on. I agree, we mustn't lose some of the really good things from the pandemic. Some of our students have been incredibly creative and in the way that they've engaged. So we should embrace that and take the best of it, really.
Great question, thank you. Next question. I'm gonna get final question. Yeah, I'm getting pointed at. Oh dear.
Hi there, Tim DeVille from Staffordshire University. Just a question for Jenny. Clearly the JCB Academy is an incredible facility, and the partnerships you have with industry and with higher education. I just wondered how you collaborated with schools across the region, sharing best practice and having that interactivity between yourselves and other secondary schools.
I'm fairly new to the area, but already I've made some lovely friends in Staffordshire in terms of the Staffordshire Heads Association. But it's about building those connections, and I'm working at the moment with the head of Thomas Alane's in Uttoxeter. She wants to put together T-levels. We've got that experience, and just sharing that experience with her, and just having that open door. We, like all communities, the education community, is really cohesive, and that if those doors are open to each other and allowing people in and out, that's what makes the difference. So it's early days for me personally, but those conversations are happening and are quite exciting.
Thank you, Tim. In the knowledge that I can probably outrun Louisa at the moment, I'm going to push the boat out and just ask one question, just my final question, really. So if the panellists could all join me in my DeLorean time machine. If we were to go forward 5 years and you could make sure one thing came about, one thing happened, one positive change, what would it be? And I'll start with Jason.
How kind. I think it would be that, it's the partnership question that's come out all the way through this, I think. I think that the partnerships are further developed from where they are now, and I think they're decent now, by the way, but further developed, and as a result, we are starting to see a slightly more coherent output of young people and adults with the skills we need to start moving Staffordshire's productivity a little bit further up, just take it up a little bit. So for me, that's 10 years I want to see it done, but for 5 years, I want it on the journey.
Thank you. Jenny?
I think all of the time, the JCB Academy and the universities and all of the other schools are just trying to raise young people's confidence. I think having that confidence in young people and being confident that they are going to answer some of this, give you the solutions to some of the problems that you've got in the future. So having that confidence in the fantastic ability in our young people in Staffordshire.
Super. And Professor Wall?
I suppose mixed, really, in that on a societal level it would be about giving opportunities and increasing the quality of life, really, for the people of Staffordshire. On a sort of health perspective, it would be about continuing to work together to improve the health of Staffordshire and the opportunities that brings with it.
Wonderful. Seems a great place to lead it. Would you please give a warm round of applause for our panellists and speakers today? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, that's it, sort of. All that remains for me is to thank our panellists, our speakers, and the team who brought us all together today. And of course, you, our audience, for your attention and for your questions, and hopefully for your social media activity, either now or in the future. It's been a genuine pleasure to have you here at Staffordshire University. You're always welcome. We want to collaborate. We want to meet new people. We want to engage with businesses. We've just launched our Business Awards. As I mentioned at the start of today's event, the We Are Staffordshire team are very keen to measure the value of events like this, and the communications is key. So if you'd be so kind as to take a few moments, I believe somewhere there is a, I'm going to break this, I'm going to break this, don't you? Have we done it? You did it? Right, okay. The QR code, so if you could engage with that, that would be brilliant. And if anyone's interested, you're very welcome to join us now. Our ambassadors are going to take some people on a tour of the Catalyst building. Well worth a tour if you've never done it before. Please continue to support these events. I think the next one is in April. Do look out for updates and invites in the post-event email, which will be distributed tomorrow, I believe. And finally, as we mentioned to you earlier, our sales force for Staffordshire is in this room. You are the cavalry. So if you've not already signed up to be an ambassador, do visit We Are Staffordshire, the website, for more information. Contact Louisa or Louise. And if you've got any questions in the meantime, obviously send an email. Thank you so much for being with us today and for being such positive ambassadors for our county. Have a safe journey and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.